Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. As usual, every Wednesday we read the Book of Heaven. We're in volume number 1. Last week, I just want to give a little review of what we did last week. We read and commented about the new rules and the new system of living that Jesus gave to Louisa, like offering herself as a victim, no distractions, detachment, holy indifference, mortification. And today, what we're going to do is read about Jesus' works in disposing Louisa to a mystical marriage. So let's start reading. Then my sweet Jesus would do nothing but dispose me to that mystical marriage which he had promised me. When I was in that state, he would make himself seen sometimes 3 times a day, sometimes 4, as he pleased. And sometimes it was a continuous coming and going. He seemed to be a sweetheart who cannot be without his spouse. This is how Jesus was with me. And sometimes he reached the point of telling me, "You see, I love you so much that I cannot be without coming. I feel almost restless thinking that you are there suffering for me, and you are alone. Therefore, I have come to see if you need something." And while saying this, he himself would lift my head. He would place his arm behind my neck and would embrace me. And while holding me like that, he would kiss me. And if it was summertime and it was hot, he would send a refreshing breath from his mouth. Or he would take something in his hand and fan me. And then he would ask me, "How are you feeling? Don't you feel better?" I would say to him, "Being with you, in whatever way, one is always fine." Other times, then, if he saw me very weak because of the continuous being in those sufferings, especially if the confessor was coming that night, my lover Jesus would come. And in seeing me in that state of extreme weakness, to the point that at times I felt myself dying, he would draw near me, and from his mouth he would pour milk into mine, or he would place me close to his side, and from there I would suckle torrents of sweetness, of delights, and of strength. And he would say to me, "I really want to be your everything, and also your nourishment of the soul and of the body." Who can say what I experienced both in the soul and in the body from these graces that Jesus would give me? See, right now I'm going to stop for a minute because in these readings, we're going, and especially in volume number 1, we're going to read several sentences that if we take it literally, we will think that, for example, if he kisses her, or if he pours milk in her mouth, or is very near her, and with his breath he gives her breath and air, we would say that is gross. That is, I cannot see Jesus doing that to a person. But here he is saying it very, very, very clear. He says that I really want to be your everything and also your nourishment of the soul and of the body. So when we read like that he is kissing her, or she's kissing him, or he is pouring these things in her mouth or whatever, that is in her soul. It is not in her body. So let's have this very clear, okay? Okay. Who can say what I experienced both in the soul and in the body from these graces that Jesus would give me? See, graces. Don't forget that. If I wanted to tell them, I would, I would be too long. I remember that sometimes when he would not come quickly, I would lament to him, telling him, "Oh, please, oh, holy spouse, how could you make me wait so long? I could not endure any more. I felt myself dying without you." And while saying this, the pain I felt was so great that I would cry, and he would compassionate all of me. He would dry my tears, he would kiss me, and would hug me and say, "I do not want you to cry. See, now I am with you. Tell me what you want." I would say to him, "I want nothing but you." And only then I stop crying. "When you promise me you will not make me wait for so long." And he would say to me, "Yes, yes, I will make you content." It seems like a love story, right? Like a love story here on earth. But this is really a love story of a soul to a soul. And it's beautiful, right? It's like the bridegroom and his bride. It's beautiful. And then when he asks her, "What do you want from me?" And she says, "Well, I want everything from you. I want nothing but you. I just want you." And don't we all want Jesus in our lives, just like her? One day while we were in this contrast, and the pain was so great that I could not stop crying, my good Jesus told me, "I want to content you in everything. I feel so drawn toward you that I cannot do without doing what you want. If up until now I have removed from you the external life and I have manifested myself to you, now I want to draw your soul to me so that wherever I go, you may come as well. In this way, you will be able to enjoy me more and bind yourself to me more intimately than you have done in the past." So again, in this paragraph, he is telling her that she wants to draw her soul to his soul, to him. One morning, I don't remember too well, but I think that about 3 months had passed of my consciously staying in bed while I was in my usual state. My sweet Jesus came with a look all lovable as a young man of age of about 18. Oh, how beautiful he was. With his golden hair all curly, he seemed to enchain my thoughts, my affections, my heart. From his forehead, serene and spacious, one could admire the interior of his mind as from within a crystal, and one could discover his infinite wisdom, his imperturbable peace. Oh, how I felt my mind, my heart becoming serene, even more before Jesus. My very passions are knocked down and do not dare to give me the slightest bother. So what do we have in this paragraph? Jesus, Luisa describing Jesus, right? And all these coming sentences are, she will describe how she sees Jesus. But the most important thing that I really, at least it points out to me, is that she felt in her mind and in her heart becoming very, very serene. See, and then she said something very interesting. She said, "Even more before Jesus, my very passions are knocked down." So she was completely detached already. She was detached, just like Jesus told her, not only externally, but also internally, right? And then she said, "And do not dare to give me the slightest bother." So everything that was from the outside, she didn't even bother. She only thought about Jesus. I believe, I don't know if I'm wrong, that one cannot see this Jesus so beautiful if one is not in the most profound calm. so much so that the slightest breath of disturbance prevents one from receiving a sight of so beautiful. So here we see that an impediment, right, to that prevents us seeing Jesus, the beauty that he has, is disturbance. That is an impediment. So we should be serene. That's where we really can see Jesus and the beauty that he has. Ah, yes. And just seeing the serenity of his adorable forehead, the infusion of peace that one receives in the interior is so great that I believe that there is no disaster or war most fear which does not appease itself before Jesus. He infuses peace. That's the breath that he gives us: peace, love, serenity. Oh, my all and beautiful Jesus, if for the few moments you manifest yourself in this life, you communicate so much peace in such a way that one can suffer the most painful martyrdoms, the most humiliating pains with the most perfect tranquility. What a beauty. It seems to me a mixture of peace and of sorrow, what will be like a paradise. Oh, how beautiful are his most pure eyes, sparkling with light. It is not like the light of the sun that if one wants to look at it, it hurts our sight. No. In Jesus, while it is light, one can very well fix one's gaze on it, and by just looking at the interior of his pupil of a dark sky blue, oh, how many things they would tell me. The beauty of his eyes is such that one alone of his gazes is enough to make me go outside of myself and make me run after him by ways and by mountains, through the earth and through the heavens. One single glance is enough to transform me into himself and make me feel a certain something divine descend into me. What do you guys think about this paragraph?
Well, for me, it shows that even though everything is in the spirit, Luisa is looking at Jesus, really is looking at Jesus. It's not a mystical encounter, if I can say like this. Is a reality. It's something that is not in another sense. Huh? So Luisa is explaining with all her love how is her situation in front of Jesus. And the marvelous thing that she says here in the last paragraph is that she says that it's just a glance of this present Jesus in front of her that transformed herself to make her feel that something divine descends. So this means to me what has been explained and explained, that this doesn't depend on the human being, depends on Jesus. And the divine life is not because of man, it's because of Jesus. So here she explains how Jesus is acting and being the eternal word, not just Jesus on flesh or in flesh, but the second person of God acting acting beside her, which is something that, wow, no many of the apostles have such experience, huh? But Luisa is telling us how the thing is going on.
And with that word infusion, right? That means that something is given to us. That infusion that gives us the life of whatever has been given to us. Like for example, infusion of peace. It's the life of the peace that Jesus is giving her. That infusion of the Holy Spirit. The first movement of God is God's always first movement to us. We don't obtain things by ourselves. Everything is infused, right?
But you know that infuse is I feel here when she explained that it's more than infuse, it's a material thing that is acting on her because he is present.
It's a real life.
Mm-hmm.
real life.
Is a real life, and infuse is a mystical way of describing how God acts in the souls. But here she is saying, I'm looking at him. She's describing him. She feels even she says the weather is hot, but I feel his skin. Huh?
Yeah.
So he's present over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And like in this other sentence that it says, I really want to be your everything, that Jesus tells her. And also your nourishment of the soul and of the body. It's not only in the soul, it's also in the body, right? It's her senses, also her senses.
Yes.
This gives us a great lesson. We must let him be our everything. For the soul and the body, that abandonment so desired by God, so that we can feel the effects in us, even in the body.
Exactly.
But we need to have faith and trust to be able to let ourselves live in him.
Yes.
To let him give us his will and not go in search of anybody or any creatures. Let him take charge of our life.
Yes.
I want nothing but you, Jesus. Luisa says, well, that is what we should live all the time. I want nothing but you, no matter what is happening in our life. Only you.
Yes. Thank you for emphasizing that.
Yes. And complete detachment of everything, right?
Yes, detachment.
Well, this is expressed in just one sentence. When she says here that you can reach this state with Jesus if you are not completely in silence, abandoned. So
And
the noises.
of
Mhm.
and before Jesus, my very passions are knocking down. I think this is beautiful because we want our passions to disappear, or vices, or miseries to fall. We have to be in that continued union with Jesus. Because before the divine presence, nothing of ours has strength. Everything is calm and peaceful. So we need Jesus in us to live in that way.
And nothing depends on us.
Nothing depends on us.
So if he trusts in us, why we don't trust in us? That we can reach such a state in the most profound calm.
With Jesus, our sorrows become sweet and everything is peaceful. We can be going through the life or the worst moment of our life, but with Him, everything is transformed in love, peace, calm. I don't know how to say, but it's a paradise. Yes?
Yes, yes.
Everything is immutable, right? We just stay in
Mhm.
that stage. The soul
Yeah.
stays in that stage. Well, and the body too.
No matter what stage.
Okay. So who can tell then the beauty of his adorable face? His white complexion looks like snow tinted with the color of roses, the most beautiful ones. In his rosy cheeks, one discovers the greatness of his person, with a most majestic look, fully divine, which strikes fear and reverence. And at the same time, it communicates such intimacy that as for myself, I have never found anyone who would give me the least shadow of intimacy that my dear Jesus gives. Neither my parents, nor the confessors, nor my sisters. Ah, yes, that holy face. While it is so majestic, it is also so lovable, and that loveliness attracts one so much that the soul does not have the slightest doubt of being welcomed by Jesus, as ugly, as sinful as she may see herself. Beautiful also is his nose, which descends to a very fine point, proportioned to his most sacred face, gracious in his mouth, small but extremely beautiful, and his finest lips of scarlet color. While he speaks, he contains such graciousness that it is impossible to describe it. Sweet is the voice of my Jesus. It is gentle. It is harmonious. While he speaks, such a fragrance comes out of his mouth that it seems that nothing like it can be found on earth. It is so penetrating as to penetrate everywhere. One feels it descend from the hearing to the heart, and oh, how many effects it produces, but who can say everything? Then it is so pleasant that I believe that no other pleasure can be found as many as are those that one can find in one single word of Jesus. The voice of my Jesus is immensely powerful. It is operative and in the very act in which he speaks, he already operates that which he says. Ah, yes, beautiful is his mouth, but it displays its beautiful grace more in the act of his speaking, while one can see those teeth so clear and so well arranged, and his breath of love comes out, igniting, darting through, consuming the heart. Beautiful are his hands, soft, white, most delicate, with those fingers are so artfully crafted, and he moves them with such mastery that it is an enchantment. It's like seeing a little baby, right? That we look at the hands and we look at the eyes, we look at the lips, we look at the nose, how they move, right? The beauty, the skin, the color of the skin. She's describing Jesus like to me is something like that. Is something that is almost incredible um, to our to our eyesight, right? Because she is in love with Jesus. Of course, he is beautiful, but love makes things even more beautiful, the way she describes it. And what really spoke to me was the voice, what she says, the voice of my Jesus is immensely powerful. It is operative, and in the very act in which he speaks, he already operates that which he says. That's eternity. That's not in this world. It is a place where there is no time. That's where he is in eternity and no time. So if he speaks, he acts. He doesn't think
But-
about. Uh-huh.
But you know, three things comes to my mind.
Mhm.
Once when he was speaking, when he was on earth and speaking to 5,000 people and everybody hear them
Listen.
without microphone and in 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 a in a in a in a place that has no no echo or something like this.
Yeah.
So how powerful his voice was when he was on earth that he could speak to such a multitude. This is something that comes to my mind. And the second thing that comes to my mind with this description is when Our Lady was looking for him when he lost 3 days, and he was asking the people for him. And how she described him being a mother, almost the same, so beautiful, so nice that who will says I saw him if he was so more beautiful than any human. And the third thing that comes to my mind is that is the description of Our Lady too, because his external
Features.
figure is like his mother.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Great description of Jesus.
Wow.
Yes, it's a great description.
But hopefully, we could feel that living presence of Jesus in us. Especially when we take communion, and all the time, we should feel those effects of the divine love in us, His presence. Feel this, and feel this, all this describe that Luisa say, feel in us, in the real presence in us,
The real presence, yeah.
to see the beauty of Him and don't see the world,
Mhm.
only the beautiful, like He is the paradise in us. So hopefully we could see that living presence because it's real in us. It's real. If we live in the divine will, it's real, this presence in us. And all the described Luisa comes to us. We see Jesus in us. We see this beautiful. I don't know.
And also another thing that I thought about when I was reading it is that it's about she says the slightest doubt of being welcomed by Jesus, as ugly, as sinful as she may see herself. So she was drawn to Jesus, right? She was drawn to him so with so much potency of Jesus, right? That she didn't even look at herself. She was just drawn to him, and he was welcoming her. So maybe that's the way that we should see Jesus also. Not only look our sins or how we are, We just have to look at him and know that he is welcoming us to him. Like he wants to draw us into him. But many times what we do is that we ourselves put like an impediment. No, I don't deserve it. I have too many sins. He cannot forgive me. Whatever comes to our mind. But we don't see the beauty of Jesus. We don't see the love of Jesus. We don't see what he really wants from us. We don't see that he is like crying to us. He's kneeling down and he's saying, "Come to me. I love you. Don't look at yourself. Come to me." Well, Jesus saw that. Luisa saw that beauty, and she just ran, just like it says in another paragraph there. She just went after him. It didn't matter where he wanted to take her. She went after him, and she accompanied him.
Yes. But how many times we look see ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
How many times? And we don't see this beauty.
We don't.
We don't.
Let me see. I think I did too much. It says, yes, beauty in his mouth, but it displays its beautiful grace more in the act of his speaking. While one can see those teeth so clear and so well arranged, and his breath of love comes out, igniting, darting through, consuming the heart. Beautiful are his hands, soft, white, most delicate, with those fingers so artfully craft, and he moves them with such mastery that it is an enchantment. There's something that reminded me of Mary Magdalene, right? That she was drawn to Jesus because of the way he talked. His voice and whatever he said was so potent that it went into her soul, and she listened to him. And little by little, every time she went to his discourse, she was there listening to him, until one day she opened her heart and she just converted. And it's beautiful when we really let ourselves be humble enough to open our soul to whatever Jesus wants to tell us. And what he tells us is, "I love you, come to me." Oh, how beautiful you are, all beautiful, oh my sweet Jesus. What I have said of your beauty is nothing. Rather, it seems to me that I have said a lot of nonsense. But what can I do? Forgive me. It is obedience that wants it so. By myself, I would not have dared to say one word, knowing my insufficiency. Now, while I was seeing Jesus in the appearance already described, he sent me a breath from his mouth, which invested all of my soul. And it seemed that when that breath, Jesus, was drawing me after himself, and I began to feel my soul going in out of my body, I really felt it out from all parts, from my head, from my hands, and even from my feet. That reminds me of one of the ways that Jesus communicates with us, right? And Luisa, in one of the readings that we did, that's one of the way that he communicates, that the soul, you feel that the soul is like going out of the body, but it's still there. Since it was the first time that this was happening to me within myself, I began to say, "Now I die, the Lord has come to take me." When I saw myself out of the body, the soul had the same sensation of the body, what Guadalupe was saying, right? The body had that same sensation. With this different that the body contains flesh, nerves, and bones, while the soul does not. It is a body of light. So I felt a fear within me, but Jesus continued to send me that breath and told me, if being deprived of me gives you so much pain, now come together with me, for I want to console you. And so Jesus began his flight, and I began mine after him. And we went around through the whole vault of the heavens. Oh, how beautiful it was to stroll together with Jesus. Now I would lean my head upon his shoulder, with one arm around his shoulders and the other hand on his hand in his hand. Now Jesus would lean on me when we reached certain places that were inundated more with iniquity. Oh, how my good Jesus suffered. I could see with more clarity the sufferings of his adorable heart. I could see him coming almost faint, and I would say to him, lean on me and let me share your pains, for my soul cannot bear seeing you suffer alone. And Jesus would say to me, my beloved, help me, for I can't take no more. And while saying this, he would draw his lips close to mine, and he would pour such bitterness that I would feel mortal pains when feeling this liquor, that liquor, so very bitter, enter into me. I would feel as if many knives, pricks, arrows were piercing me through. In some, an atrocious torment would form in all of my members, and as the soul would go back into the body, it would make the body participate in these sufferings. Who can tell these pains? Jesus himself was the witness of it, because others could not mitigate my pains, since I would be in the state of loss of consciousness, and they would wait for the time when the confessor would be present, because then they would mitigate also at the call of obedience. So Jesus alone could help me when he would see that my nature could not take any more and reach truly extremes, such that there was nothing left for me but to breathe my last. Oh, how many times death made fun of me, but the day will come when I will make fun of her. So what would be like the summary of this paragraph? Well, it's by location, right? When the soul leaves the body and goes with Jesus.
And the rounds, no? I think.
And the rounds, yes. She went everywhere with him.
Yeah.
But of course, this is not, her body was there, but her soul was not there. Well, her spirit was not there, right? Because the soul cannot leave the body, because then the person is a dead person.
The spirit is.
And the spirit is this little tiny little thing in the, if we can say it, in the soul. And that is what really connects to God, to the Spirit of God.
The connection of God.
But the beauty of this paragraph also is like that she shared with Jesus his pains.
Yes, the part of the victim soul. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit louder? I can hear you, if you don't mind.
Is the part to be a victim soul.
Exactly. Yes. We don't leave Jesus alone, right? We suffer with him.
Yeah.
Because that is the way we console him and mitigate his pains, right? Okay.
Prepare for all the world, Prepare for all the things happen.
Yes. So Jesus would come, he would take me in his arms, he would draw me close to his heart, and know how I felt life come back to me. Then he would pour a most sweet liquor from his lips, and in this way the pains would mitigate. Other times, well, he would take me around together with him. If there were sins of blasphemy against charity and others, he would pour those poisonous bitters. If then there were sins of dishonesty, he would pour something of a stinging brightness. And when I would return into myself, I would feel that stink so well that the stench was such that it would revolt my stomach and I would feel faint. And sometimes when taking food and afterwards, when I would bring it up, I would feel that rot come out of my mouth mixed with the food. So just like Guadalupe was saying, it was not only in her soul, right? What was happening, it was also in her body. Like what she was feeling right in her soul. Well, sometimes when she came back after she ate food, she brought back that rot out of her mouth. Sometimes then he would bring me into churches, and even there my good Jesus was offended. Oh, how awful those works reach his heart. Holy works, yes, but none done roughly. Those prayers empty of interior spirit, that pity falls apparent. It only seemed to give more insult than honor to Jesus. Ah, yes, that holy, pure, upright heart could not receive those works done so badly. Oh, how many times he lamented, saying, Daughter, even from those people who are said to be devout, see how many offenses they give me, even in the holiest places, and serving the very sacraments instead of coming out purified, they come out dirtier. Ah, yes, how much pain it was for Jesus to see people receiving communion so graciously, priests celebrating the holy sacrifice of the Mass in mortal sins out of habit, and some a horror to say it, even out of interest. Oh, how many times my Jesus made me see these scenes so painful. How many times while the priest was celebrating the sacrosanct mystery, Jesus is forced to go into his hands because he is called by the priestly authority. One could see those hands dripping with rot blood or smeared with mud. Oh, how pitiful then was the state of Jesus, so holy, so pure, in those hands which struck horror at the mere sight. It seemed he wanted to escape from between those hands, but he was forced to stay until the species of bread and wine would be consumed. Sometimes while remaining there with the priest, he would come hurriedly toward me, all lamenting, and before I could say it, he himself would say to me, Daughter, let me pour into you, for I can take no more. Have pity on my state, which is too painful. Have patience. Let us suffer together. And while saying this, he would pour from his mouth into mine. But who can say what he poured? It seemed to be a bitter poison, a fetid rot mixed with a food so hard, disgusting, and nauseating that sometimes it would not go down. Who can tell then the sufferings in this puring of Jesus produced? We can stop here for a minute, right? It's atrocious, the suffering of Jesus, the suffering that we still give him, right? And only the real victims are the ones that can really share that pain with Jesus, that can really share those atrocious moments of sadness that Jesus has, right?
Well, I'll go back to the previous paragraph to join with this one. When Jesus says to Luisa, "My beloved, help me, for I can take no more." Can you imagine to God saying so? And here is a phrase that shows how he needs us. That is unbelievable. Huh? But when I go to this paragraph that you already read and mentioned about his pain for the communion sacrilegiously of the people that receive him, and what is happening now that we are receiving him in like I don't know how to say that. Well, I see that people is going in short sport. If they bring shoes, they bring sport shoes. If no, with sandals. And receiving in the hand. So many things we are doing in these times that will increase his pain. So may I can say that he is telling to Luisa and to us, "My beloved, help me." So what situation we are living right now, and how many pains we are giving to God in this time, but he is so lovely that with these times that we are the worst, he's giving us the best. So this is something that I want to comment to you.
And also, like what you were saying, like we don't dress adequately, right? When we're in church, we talk in the holy of holy. We just talk like he's there, but okay, well, who's there? Well, it's our Lord, it's Jesus, and we keep on talking. We kind of don't care about it. We just receive communion, and 5 minutes later, we're talking with other people, and we're thinking about the next thing, where I'm going to eat, or what am I going to do, or I have to go and do shoppings or whatever. I don't have enough time. Today is Sunday, but it's my only day off, and I need to do this and this and that. But really, are we really, are we really doing what we need to do? And just like Jesus says, how many people go and their prayers are empty of interior spirit. Many times we're in church, right? And even ourselves, our prayers could be empty of an interior spirit. Like if we're praying whatever, the sponsors or sponsorials or the glory or whatever prayers, right? We pray. Are we really doing it the way that Jesus deserves us to do it? That is with love, not being false, not being apparent. Are we really giving the honor that Jesus deserves, or are we insulting him? That is something that we need to think about, right? Not
Right.
only look at the priest, if the priest is holy or the priest is not holy, Well, it doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter, because what happens there is the most beautiful miracle of all. It
Done
doesn't
by Jesus, not by the priest.
priest,
Mhm.
only because of the words that the priest is saying. The priest is calling him, he comes, and he does what he knows to do. And that is beautiful. I remember that um, on Monday that we were talking about some passages in the Bible when Moses struck the rock, right? That from the rock came out water. But what God told Moses was to talk to the rock, not to hit the rock. But Moses, I don't know, maybe Moses didn't have enough faith or whatever, and he didn't talk to the rock. He hit the rock, right? And the water came out, of course, but that's why he couldn't go to the promised land. He couldn't go in. But now, what the priest does, he hits the rock in consecration, because the rock is Jesus, but he hits it with the word of God. So God can pure his river of love to all of us. And that is beautiful. So yes, we need to pray for the priest, because Jesus really suffers. We need to repair for what the communities that are done sacrilegiously, being with him and being a victim with him. So what we do in church, when we go in because we know about the divine will, we repair with Jesus. That is what he wants us to do.
We have souls in the house, so we don't see the real presence of God in the sacrament. And that's all this suffering, Jesus suffering so much for this, because we see it as something normal. Yeah, it's sacrament, it's something normal, it's nothing special, you know?
Mhm.
We don't see the real presence of God in this sacrament. That's why all the people received Jesus in sacrilegious way, and how many people offense in that? The priest also, because they don't recognize this real presence,
Yeah.
don't see this love of God, this beautiful gift to be transformed our lives in Him. That's so sad for Jesus.
It is.
That's the way of the world we need to share with Him.
Mhm. There are also some private revelations, right? Like Catalina Rivas, she had a vision of what happens in the Mass and everything, and it's so beautiful. Like Mother Mary is there, the angels, the saints, heaven and earth are there. The angels, whatever petitions we have, the angels, put them in the throne of God. It's beautiful. We don't understand what really happens there. It's a being in heaven. It's that heavenly banquet. What we're really we're in that present, but we don't understand that. Maybe we don't believe, or maybe we don't know it, or maybe it's because the way we were taught is not as deep as it should have been. But anyhow, Jesus is teaching us what really happens, right? So sometimes while remaining there with the priest, he would come hurriedly toward me, all lamenting, and before I could say it, he himself would say to me, "Daughter, let me peer into you For I can take no more. Have pity on my state, which is too painful. Have patience. Let us suffer together. And while saying this, he would pour uh, from his mouth into mine. But who can say what he poured? It seemed to be a bitter poison, a fetid rot, mixed with a food so hard, disgusting, and nauseating that sometimes it would not go down. Who can tell then the sufferings that the pouring of Jesus produced? It is himself had not sustained me. If he himself had not sustained me, I certainly would have died. Yet he would pour in me but the least part. What must it be for Jesus, who contained tons upon tons of it? Oh, how awful sin is. Ah, Lord, let everyone know it, so that all might flee from this monster so horrible. But while I would see these scenes so sorrowful, other times he would also make me see scenes so consoling and beautiful as to be enrapturing. And this was to see good the holy priest celebrating sacrosanct mysteries. Oh God, how high, great, sublime is this ministry. How beautiful it was to see the priest celebrating Mass and Jesus transformed into him. It seemed that it was not the priest, but Jesus himself that celebrated the divine sacrifice. And sometimes he would make the priest disappear completely, and Jesus alone would celebrate the Mass. I would listen to him. Oh, how touching it was to see Jesus recite those prayers, do all those ceremonies and movements that the priest does. Who can say how consoling it was for me to see these masses together with Jesus? How many graces I received, how much light, how many things I comprehended. But since these are past things, I don't remember them too clearly, so I keep silent. Wow, what a beauty. But as I am saying this, Jesus has moved in my interior and has called me. He doesn't want me to do so. Ah, Lord, how much patience it takes with you. Well, then, I will content you. Oh, sweet love, I will say a few little things, but give me your grace to be able to manifest them, because by myself I would not dare to utter one word about mysteries so profound and sublime. So there are priests that don't celebrate the Mass, or they do celebrate the Mass, but with in mortal sins. But there are also many other priests that they celebrate the Mass, and even they are transformed into Jesus. And Jesus himself is the one who does the movements and says the words, right? What he needs to say. And it's beautiful because the priesthood is so beautiful. When the priest is walks towards the altar, we say it's in persona Christi. So it's Jesus himself who is walking like into the Calvary, right, to be crucified. And if we really understand what happens there, that beautiful mystery, we will live that moment in his will, in his divine will. And we will repair with him. We will be consolating him. I don't know what else to say. It's just like what Luisa said. I can only say whatever I need to say, but only if you give me the grace to manifest it. If you don't give me that grace by myself, just like she says, I will not dare utter one word about these profound mysteries that are so sublime. Okay, so it is time past, and we will stay here. We will stop reading at this moment. Next week, we will be reading about about the divine sacrifice of Jesus, celebrating the Mass,
Mhm.
about the divine sacrifice of the Mass. That is his sacrifice, right? And the cross. And understanding what the Mass is also. That it's not only his sacrifice, but it's also his resurrection. So that is it's very important for us to understand that. So my brothers and sisters, if you don't have nothing else to say, we'll meet next Wednesday. Take care. God bless you. And be good to Jesus. Take care.